Hey everyone, Captain Amazing here, and we're here doing a Between Two reviews with Vexitron. So thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. This is my first creator collaboration, so I'm excited.
Well, that's fun. Well, welcome to the creator collaboration area. I do think that honestly, I do think this community is an amazing community for collaborations. I think because I Urs came back. Are you familiar with him? Like
Yeah, I
Urs
used to watch him when I was in
back in the
college. I
day?
used to watch
Yeah.
his crazy streams. He's exciting.
Yeah, because he was mentioning how back when he was a creator in like the earlier days, that it was like a dog eat dog world kind of with between creators and they didn't have like a good relationship with each other. And I don't feel that whatsoever. Like every single creator I've talked to in this like community has been like extremely kind, open, and then are willing to give like other creators their space so that they can like help grow their channels. Of course, within reason. You can't just like drop in a chat and be like, I'm Captain Amazing. Watch my stream. You know what I mean? But like
Yeah.
generally, it's a small creator space. We know each other, and there's a lot of collaborations, and they're very open to stuff like that. So one of the reasons why I reached out to you was I saw your content. It just like popped up in my YouTube feed, and I was like, "What's this guy?" Because I do like to watch, not just like I actually prefer like the smaller channels. I think they have a lot of like creativity and uniqueness to them. So I like checked out your channel, and I was like, "Hey, this is uh, you're well spoken. You don't look like a basement dweller, and then you you, uh,
Yeah.
you you generally had some sound guidance and like playability and your grand arenas were interesting. So I reached out to you and wanted to do this collaboration. So thanks for having and coming here. So do you want
You
to?
know, I appreciate it.
No, sorry. Do you want to do a quick little introduction of your channel, yourself, anything you want to share about, just a good time to advertise what you're all about and what your channel's all about?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Vexitron. I started doing, I'd say, serious content creation about 5 or 6 months ago, and I've been playing this game since a month after launch. There might have been one brief period in the past 7 years where I took a couple months break, but I've been consistent every day. Definitely my favorite game I've ever played. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and I just love the strategy and the competition in Grand Arena. Grand Arena is my favorite game mode. I love just planning my strategies, walking through the datacrons, different metas. I love doing off meta stuff. So definitely my favorite game mode, and I love doing some cool counters. I have a lot more I want to start doing content creation for, like different types of videos, but definitely Grand Arena is my home for the game, and definitely enjoy it. So if you guys want to find some high end Kyber One gameplay, definitely check out my channel.
Yeah, I commend you on your ability to play a game for so long. Because I
It's the
played in
longest
like,
game.
yeah, I played in 2018, and back in the day, I would play because I played everything. I'm 35. I've been gaming for since I was 4 years old, so 31 years. And I usually with things like MMOs or online subscription games, or just like a pretty much online games, I'll play until the devs like really kind of like make me angry, and I'm like, f this, I'm I'm done, I'm moving on. And
Yep.
that happened when they released Kylo Ren and Rey, and I was like, the like I'm sure you remember the struggle of just gearing characters like with carbantes and stunkoffs, and I was
Oh yeah.
like, and I looked at these relics and I was like, I have like two or three relics at the time. It was like Jedi Knight Revan, maybe like General Kenobi, and Grandmaster Yoda or something, like just a bare bones three relic account. And they're like, here's these galactic legends, and I'm like, oh, this game is, I'll never attain these things, this is like BS, and back then like Squad Arena was really important. And and I was just like, okay, I'm done with this, and I kind of like moved on from the game because I was just like, it's now. I felt like it wasn't attainable for the average player, um, and then it wasn't until I think I got like 2022 July. I came back because I was just like a busy adult. Like a would have a lot of return players. Like that's my story. Is just like I'm a busy adult. I don't have time to get dunked on by 12-year olds in Call of Duty anymore. I'm no longer clicking foreheads. I'm just like but I want a game with substance that I can like enjoy. And I remembered like, oh hey, there's that Star Wars game I played a while. Let's see what it's about. And I actually never stopped watching Arnold, just because he's a great like entertainer. So like even during my like 4 or 5 years I quit, I would still like kind of keep up with his streams periodically, and that kind of like inspired me to like, oh hey, the game looks like it's in a better place, so let me like try it out. And I just been playing it pretty much like religiously since then.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I remember when I was in college and being an athlete, I was a wrestler in college and we weren't able to go out and we had to travel and we had to wait in hotel rooms. So I remember just downloading this game and loving Star Wars, and I was addicted ever since. And I still watch Arnold. I have a couple of his funny songs on my Spotify, which is
Yeah.
kind of funny. He's very, very entertaining, very good creator. I've been watching him since the beginning, since he was a small channel. So definitely very, makes very good content. And I remember Mobile Gamer.
Yeah, mobile gamer, yeah.
Those were the two biggest of the game that I used to watch a lot. There was Warrior and McMull. Those are all the content creators that when I was first starting the game that I was watching, and I was like, I always wanted to try to create content, but I just didn't have the time or I just wasn't like confident to do it. But I recently found some confidence to do it, so trying to see where it goes. But absolutely, those creators were amazing and helped me a lot throughout all those tough years. So
Yeah, honestly, there was two creators that pushed me to do content creation, because I hit Kyber, like just Kyber for a year ago with my like 7 million GP account, because my account is as a return player, I much different kind of place of the game than you are, like as an end game player. But it was two people. It was Star Wars Dad and the Asteroid Mech, because I was watching them and I was like, hey, like people are actually interested in these accounts, and not everyone has to be like super end game top 1%. Because if you watch a lot of the other games, like the big content creators, they're like that 1% of players, the top of the game, and people watch them because they're like amazing at the game. But I was like, hey, there's space in this game, because it takes so long to progress for like mid and late game players. There's a lot of players out there, so there's a variation of community that they're not just looking for like that super top end. There's like a spread of content creators out there. But I do think that in your space, you're definitely like that top. Because what's your are do you even know where you are in Granite? Are you top like 500, 200? Where are you at?
I think I'm currently right now top 500. I think I finished at four something, but I think the highest rank I've ever gotten was maybe 102 or 105. It's really hard to crack through the top 100 without having like all those relic nines and the
Yeah.
reroll. Like I have a lot of datacrons, but I don't have the datacrons where you reroll 500, 300 speed on like six different ones. So
Yeah, yeah, I
I'm
get
not
it.
that level like that. Like I don't drop any money or anything on datacrons. I just do my crystal refreshes from
Mhm.
what I earn from the end of the season. So, but yeah, I'm typically in the 500. I've never gotten out of Kyber one on this account since it started, pretty
So
much.
you do the 100 refreshes?
I do. I didn't always
Yeah.
used to do that. I used to do just the 50s for like the beginning of Conquest,
Hmm.
and then as soon as it did get a little bit more competitive, I started going into the hundreds, and it's honestly made a big difference. I don't know if you want me to show you where I'm at
Well,
with the
we'll
current progress, but
we'll look at your stuff, but yeah. So I did notice though there is a big difference. because I'm like Kyber too, like your alt is, and there really is a difference of facing someone that has like all good datacrons, and then facing someone who has all good datacrons that like rerolled the secondary abilities so that they're all like all defense or all health or they're all super specialized because it just like turns off counters or it's there's no way to like even with insights you can't really look at that and be like, okay, let me find someone who has like 400% defense and see how that affects counters. Like, there's no functionality for that either. So I could understand where you just gotta like, at that point, you just gotta use your intuition, right, to be like, I think this should still work. Yeah.
And that's why I don't have much time to scout or look into my opponent's roster. But like, for example, if you're facing a Queen Amidala that has 15 or 20% defense compared to a 400% defense or 350,
Uh-huh.
two counters are out the window. You have to bring in a much stronger team. So
Yeah.
it's like you have to base your offense based on the datacrons that they set. You have to do a little bit of research, but datacrons make a big difference.
Yeah, it does. A lot of people I personally, I'm not a Datacron hater. Like, I don't, I know a lot of community members weren't aligned with them. And I do think there was kind of like a shift of public perception where Datacrons were no longer like enemy number one. And I think that was when they did, which I thought was really smart marketing, when they did the SLKR and Ray Crons. I think that brought a lot of those like mid game, late game players into Datacrons and they saw like how influential they could be for winning and losing Grand Arena, and that kind of like brought a lot of the average player base around actually enjoying datacrons because they were able to punch up and see like, hey, these things give me the ability to kind of like improve my roster even if it's like for 4 months is a good amount of time too. So
Yeah, I'd have to admit when I first was introduced to datacrons when they brought the idea out, I was like, this is going to be the end. This is going to be another way for us to use our crystals to stay competitive, and I didn't like the idea of it. But the more and more the game has progressed, and more I've realized that datacrons are almost essential to keep
yeah.
things fresh because we'd be doing the same thing in every grand arena over and over and over until they released a new character. But with the new datacrons, it allows for different metas, different counters, just more fun, honestly.
Yeah.
There's obviously, I wish we had another form of crystal income to compensate for us having to use crystals for datacrons, but that's a whole nother discussion. But
Yeah, because what a lot of players do are like the more casual like not grand arena enjoyers usually say is they look at it from like a return of investment and they're like, you're never going to get that return of investment back from what you put into datacrons from the difference of wins and losses. And I always look at it as it's not about the wins or losses. It's about the fun, right? Like it's about being able to compete and play in a way that you would want to. Because if I didn't engage in datacrons, then I would just lose. Like there's just no ways. It turns off counters because something as basic as like JMK. It's like, okay, yeah, Ariva counters JMK, but you put Plocron, like, no, that's not going to work. Or even just a tank revive cron would probably like shut off that counter because you're not going to have like the juice to get through, and kind of outlast them and blitz them down fast enough. So I do think, and I completely agree with you that it helps with shaking up the meta because if we're just doing the same counters over and over and over, then that makes a stale game. And especially for those that are putting like a lot of effort or have been playing this for forever, like varying metas are something that's fun and it keeps the game interesting.
yeah, I agree. I agree. It'd be a very different game if we were just doing the same Galactic Legend counters that pre Datacrons were able to do things that would never work before. Like we can get Mon Mothma to beat Ray now.
Yeah.
That was never a thing. I don't think, especially when Ben Solo was released. It's very different. Datacrons are, I think, needed. I think they're needed as much as people don't like them.
Yeah, I will say this though. Set 16 was atrocious. And I'll say this as like I engaged mildly. Like I do engage in them. I was able to build like a few of the good level 6 attacker crons, support crons, tank crons. But those players that kind of like wail out on those, that was completely different than like what 17 and 18 is, because those are faction based datacrons with a few good level 9s. And it's like, okay, I know I how to like, I just have to find the new counters, build the new defenses or whatever I need to do to beat those. But set 16 was ridiculous because it changed every single team and it could elevate literally every single team. So if you're in 3v3, you're facing like what, like 15 completely busted like GL level off meta teams with these, like it was ridiculous. Like you have a quad may with this good level 6 support cron, that's like a night and day difference than like a even right now a quad may with the master Qui-Gon cron. So like Trench, I was like, okay, one time I took Star Killer against Trench and I was like, oh, this is an easy dub, no problem. And then they just like, I instantly died. My Star Killer got like mass assisted and then he died because he had the support cron. And it was like, okay,
Damage.
I guess I just lose this one, like. So and when you're and for the average player, like if you could wail out and completely like change every single team, I felt like that one was really really rough as someone like punching up, compared to all the other sets where it's like, okay, I'll farm the 3 or 4 or 5 good datacrons so I can compete, where now it's like, okay, I can't. And just the sheer volume of how many like good level 6s there were, or how many level 6s there were, and how, like trying to re-roll all these, like I wasn't able to build as many good ones as those who like actually spend money. So that set was very very rough, I felt.
Yes, I have mixed opinions on that set, honestly, because do I think they were extremely overpowered? 100%. Did the whales take advantage of them? Yes. The only thing that I thought was a little bit better for most players was that it wasn't super character or faction dependent. It was just based off their attacker or support or healer. So if you didn't have a certain faction like Tuscans, or if you
Yep.
didn't have your first order geared or anything like that, you didn't have to worry about missing out, because if you had a developed roster with a couple relics, you can use the attacker or the support level 6 if you have them at relic 5. So I think it was a change of pace with what they were doing before. I think the support cron was a little overpowered in my opinion. I think that was definitely the most broken of the set. But the worst part of that set, in my opinion, was the level 9s. Impossible to get the one that you needed. I remember it took me the third conquest at the very end for me to finally pull the Sabine level 9 where she gets the bonus turn.
Yeah, I
I was
stopped.
trying for that. I was like, I can't. I We kept winning in territory wars. I had the materials, could not reroll it. It was the chances were so low, and I finally got it on my last reroll with the 20 mats that I got. But that, I think, to me, the level 9s were definitely the most annoying with that set. But the support cron was insane, and it was different compared to what they did.
Honestly, I loved. Yeah, the support cron was great, but I loved the attacker cron just for Star Killer. That was honestly that was so fun. Like it was just a fun data cron just because of the all the attacks out of turns you got. But
Well,
I did take my Sabine to Relic 5 before the crons dropped because I was like, oh, I gotta have this. So I took her to Relic 5, and then I saw how hard it was and I just stopped. I was like, okay, I'm giving up on this one. I'm just gonna build as many good level 6s as I can.
honestly, the level 6s were way more important than the level 9s for
Yeah.
that season. I just remember Sabine stopping certain counters if you
Mhm.
put her with Leia, so I was like, "Oh, I need to get that." But
It was a very good level 9. Like I remember I almost lost a Grand Arena because there was a mall with Sabine Kron, and I was like, it was the last team I had to take out. It was on the back wall, and I was like, yeah, I have like all these mall counters. It should be fine. And I just got like bodied. I ended up beating it after like throwing like 6 teams. I think it was like first order that like a Hux lead or something. That was it. It was in threes, I think. A Hux lead, like Sith what do you call it? Red
Trooper?
Lobster. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Sith Trooper and the Kron, the SF TIE fighter pilot.
Oh, yeah, the TIE
Yeah,
fighter pilot.
yeah. So I took those three, was able to take out the Canderous, and then was able to clean it up with like troopers. But still, like the her taking a turn every, like with Maul, like was, well, I just wasn't expecting it. I was like Maul, oh
Nasty
that's,
combo.
yeah. I was like Maul, that's easy. I didn't even think about it until I was there, and I took in my first turn and just got bodied, and I was like, okay, maybe I'm not gonna get through this. So yeah, I agree with you. Like level sixes were important, but those level nines. And the annoying thing was there was like multiples of the same character for level nine too. So I felt like that felt really bad because it was like, okay, I rolled the character for level nine. There's a bunch of different characters that they can be because there's like tons of, and that was why I was saying like the variability, because I when it first came out I was like, hey, the floor is like dirt low. Like anyone can get in on these datacrons, but the ceiling is like sky high for them, and that's what I felt like they were going for. But I do think they were just like a tad too strong, especially that support one.
Yeah, I mean, the damage that you can ramp on your attackers with certain combos. Like I know Rebel Fighter team where I was facing Fatal, the playbook. He's like another
Yeah,
content creator that's been around for a while. I was facing him, and he put a Saw Gerrera team with Drogon and Rex. And I tried Bane. I was like, this has got to be a guaranteed win. Bane's
yeah,
so overpowered. And Drogon hit my Bane for like 900k on a one
yeah.
shot. And I'm like, this Kron is just disgusting.
Yeah, I had the
Um,
same thing with Gungans, because I was like, oh, let me just overkill this with JML. Like this is an easy JML dub, bring in all the sides, and then they one shot the team. I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, I guess I lose.
I lost to Zerath because of Gungans because I tried JML.
Yeah.
I should have used JMK, but Gungans are my kryptonite right now in Grand
I,
Arena. I don't know
actually,
about you.
well, actually, I was able to get through that team with the good level 6 support. It was all relic 8 with a gear 12 Treya and Nihilus. Savage
Can't
lead.
get it to work. I
I don't
can't. I
I
got
don't
one
know.
shot.
I don't know. I think I isolated Boss Nass, and that kind of like stopped the bleeding from all the buffs and everything he was doing, and so that stopped like the ramping. So I isolated him. I just had to deal with the taunt, and then kind of like got through and like got the generator, killed the sides, and then was able to kill him, and was able to get the win. But I was pretty surprised because at that point I was like, okay, I like JML got one shot. I just don't have anything for this. I think I used my JMK for something else, maybe like a JMK mirror. And then I was like, okay, I guess I'm just like dead in the water here, and it ended up working out. But yeah, like Gungans, those level again, those that support cron is just way too strong.
I mean, I had the Bombardier absolutely just destroy all my Jedi with one AoE, one match. It's just the ramping damage on that support cron. If they have the buffs on a basic where they get like offense up and crit damage,
Yeah.
it's bad. But let's see if they're strong this season. I don't know if they're going to be strong with the new set,
I
but
I don't think so. I don't see anything that's like crazy with them, right? I haven't really looked at the new set all that much. Even though I'm like farming, I really should. I'm like farming them right now, but I'm aiming mostly for like UFU datacrons right now is what I'm trying to farm, like as many UFU ones as possible. But I really should look more into it. All right,
yeah,
so
it's a big yeah.
let's go ahead and just start the roster review. So feel free to open up my account, and then you take the wheel wherever you want to lead us towards this conversation. Then we'll go there.
Sure. So you want me to just like
Yeah,
go
just
over your roster a bit?
yeah, sure. Whatever you have to say.
You have
I'm
what in there?
I'm trying to. I've had him in there for a while, and I'm trying to, because it's like I'm trying to do the prestigious quests, Uh, but so I'm trying to just like increase my arena power or my arena level so that I can get some like easy wins. And I'm still just a wall of JMKs and Leias. So I'm, sooner or later, maybe someone will gift me with pushing me up into the thousands or something. But it's been like a week or so, and I'm still there. So.
I gotcha.
Yep. So whatever you got to say.
Okay. Just trying to see. Do you have every GL?
No, I'm missing two. C and Lord Vader.
Okay. So just looking at your roster, how many Grand Arena Omicrons do you apply? Do you apply any territory war at all? Do you have a? Are you in a competitive guild?
My guild's actually pretty good. So they're not they don't require a whole lot, but I am heavily leaned towards Grand Arena Omicrons. So I do on occasion if it's like game breaking for TW and or if my guild asks me to, I will. But right now, I think I have like 5 or 6 TW ones, and the rest are just Grand Arena.
Yeah, I'm my roster. I try to do a mix of both because I'm in a very great guild. I'm in the Senate Mandalore. We're very good at TW.
Uh huh.
Very great group of guys, great territory war leaders, and I have to try to make a balance of applying certain Omicrons because it's a very hard resource for us to get, our hands
Yeah.
on. So I have to try to really focus on the GAC Omicrons on my roster for the ones that I really essentially need and the ones that are luxury. So just going over your roster now, I do see you do have all the really good Omicrons for GAC. I do see some TW ones. Um, how do you like the Marin one? Do you think it makes a difference for Grand Arena sometimes?
So I have not had any opportunities to use because I just got Marin up not too long ago, and most of the time actually because I brought her on offense and then she just kind of like sat on the bench because I like the way I win Grand Arena is because I'm facing accounts that are probably closer to yours than they are to mine. And so I have to win through like sheer efficiency. So I can't do things like Jabba two shots. I have to aim for all as much as I can, just leaving enough defense that gives my opponent the opportunity to make a mistake, and then go in and just like win through efficiency. So and not drop a battle. So things like the Marin two shot for Jabba, I'm sure where if you're putting all your great things on defense, then having something like that is a great tool to kind of like be able to be a pretty good defense. Like for me, I just haven't had the opportunity yet to build a defense that will allow me to do multi shots, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And that leads to another great point about Grand Arena with where you are in your roster and where you are in the world for Grand Arena Kyber 2. Kyber 2 is turning into the like part of Kyber 1 where all those really big accounts are getting taken out and you must be having a really hard time. You must be constantly facing people a lot bigger than you. So I guess you might have answered this already, but when you're facing those bigger accounts, are you looking at winning in the efficiency? Are you looking at winning in ships? Are you going heavier on offense? Are you putting decent stuff on defense? Like what's your mindset in terms of that type of strategy?
So before the squish, like a ship's defense could take you into Kyber 2 just because people can't for some reason just can't beat Leviathan. So because I do have all the GL ships. The only thing I'm missing is like a fully built up Marauder because I don't have the Bad Batch. And that wasn't that big of a deal because I just took Profundity on offense and that kind of like shored up that. So I was able to take out the FU fleets even though I put the Executor and the Leviathan on defense. Now I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like I just don't know because they shut down the Chimera counter. I'm probably gonna have to use the Executrix on the Executor, and then maybe the Profundity on on Leviathan, but then I don't know how reliable it is without that Mark 6 because I still want to keep my Mark 6 with my Leviathan. So I don't know. Like maybe I'll just lose, like that's fine. I'll just go down until people stop putting, like ridiculous fleets on defense. Or maybe I'll get lucky and my opponent will like take Leviathan on offense so that they don't have to deal with kind of like that off meta nightmare that we have right now.
I hear you. I mean, in terms of me, when I'm always facing someone that is in the 13, million, of which everything in their roster is relic or either relic 8 or 9, I'm trying to think of the squads that are good at stealing banners. I'm trying to think of teams that can cause havoc and you get stuck on. Like, I personally think Ray is one of the best GLs in the game for Grand Arena with her team because if your counters just do not work for her, you can have a really hard time. Like, yes, unaligned force users are very strong against Ray when you have Malikos and Seer, but Ray is a type of GL where you can get stuck very easily. I think Jabba is another GL where you can get stuck very easily. But there are other GLs where you want to use on offense. So I'm not going to say I like going full offense in Grand Arena, but I do think you need to have a good strategy to clear their defense and be prepared for whatever the outcome will be. You have to constantly think, okay, if I use this team here, they could be hiding this team in the back. Do I have X, Y, and Z to take out that team? So, in terms of your roster, you're probably facing opponents with all GLs, so you have to
Yeah.
be a little bit cautious. Do you typically bring most of them on offense, or do you keep a couple on defense?
So it depends because I do try to scout my opponents and then I just try to go with like the cleanest battles. So I'll use like SOKR versus Java and things like that. But like if they because before if they put Leia and JMK like if pretty much they just like turtle then they brought every single GL, then I would probably put something like Leia on the front wall and I would bring the rest and just try to put some stuff on the back wall that is maybe can get me a hold, you know what I mean? So that's generally my plan is like I scout and then I'll put what I don't need on defense. So sometimes I'll leave like Ray on defense, sometimes I'll leave Jabba on defense. I like to put Leia on defense mostly, especially with that Tankron because there's times where, like if you fail that counter and you don't have anything else for it, you just lose or she gets like tons of holds. Same thing as Ray. Ray's really good. Ray's, I think, in my opinion, except for like that Leia with Tankron, Ray is probably the hardest GL to clean up. Like most counters that people have to clean up a GL just won't work on her. So I do think that she's a great one. But sometimes like JMK, I'll throw on defense if I see that they just don't. I don't need him on offense because sometimes like you for whatever reason, I just don't need like a JMK with Plocron. So it just depends on my opponent and how heavy they go for defense.
Next question. I don't know if you've had to face
Mhm.
any of these yet, but do you have any plans for Great Mothers if you see them
Yeah,
on
I
defense?
could. Well, I before I would have just I haven't faced them, but I would have used the SOKR counter like with a crew lead. Now I would probably. I think the only thing that could probably handle that is probably like JMK Plocron.
Yeah, I've been trying to have the time to test in Grand Arena or Squad Arena against a Great Mothers team to come up with a new strategy with a new Datacron set, but I haven't had time, and that that's a whole nother conversation. I don't know how
Yeah.
you feel about. I know we were talking about Datacrons before, but how do you feel about those exclusive level 9s like Great Mothers?
Honestly, I don't mind them because I think if you're going to drop like $300 on a character, I don't think it's a bad idea for the game to reward you with power. Essentially, yeah, it is pay to win, but you're dropping like a PS5's worth of money for this, these pixels. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world to give you a payback for that for a few months, and at least it's not permanent, right? So it's a limited 4 month boost. And those in my Discord who have them, a lot of them are like, well, I need to take them on offense so I can clear, X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, look, that's like the strongest defensive team in the game right now. Just put it on your front wall. You're just gonna print wins, especially if they're in like lower tiers, because a lot of people, believe it or not, just don't know how to counter them or they don't watch people who show like the pretty much the two counters that we did have for them. So, but I don't have. I'm sure you probably have a different opinion than me because you're facing them regularly. But as someone who doesn't face them regularly, but understands from like a business aspect that if you're going to be dropping like hundreds or thousands of dollars on this game, then giving them an actual payback for that is pretty important, I think.
So I agree with you with the giving the that power up for the players that are dropping the money and investing to keep the game running. I do agree with giving them that sort of extra power, but I do think there needs to be some limitations to the power they're giving.
Yeah.
Like for example, Night Trooper, for example, got an exclusive Datacron. It was strong, but why by no means was it anything that was impossible or
Mhm.
only required certain counters to beat. It had a ton of counters, but it was an exclusive power up for that team that no one else can get. It was exclusive to the people that paid for it. In terms of Great Mothers, it's the same aspect that you're giving those certain players that power up, but the amount of text in that Datacron and how game changing it is, it creates this huge type of wall where it could upset some people. Me personally, I like trying to come up with counters and off meta stuff to take care of it, but I feel bad for the players that don't have access to those types of counters where it just might be a little bit too powerful, in my opinion, at least. But I do
Mhm.
like the idea of giving players a chance to get something exclusive to them for them spending money, just not as strong as the Great Mothers. That's just my
Well,
opinion.
I think with like, because SOKR, right? Like SOKR is and always will be like the ability to beat anything in this game because he has unlimited ramping ability. And if
My
it
favorite
was,
character.
yeah, so and if it was because he was my first GL too, and that was like because there was two times that we talked about this before where I felt like this is true power. Like I had full access to the game, and that was like Jedi Knight Revan when he was launched. I felt like, hey, this was like a tier above anything in that game, and nothing can compare. And I felt the same way when I got SOKR because I was like, okay, this is like what true power is, and now I can finally like have access to the game. But I think the line for these datacrons, and I don't think they've hit it yet, is if they are only able to be beaten in a mirror match. Like if you wailed on these characters, then that is the only counter. I think that is the line that should not be crossed. And if they ever do cross that line, I think that's where you could see players just being like, F this, I'm out. Like I'm not gonna play a game where unless I drop like 300, maybe even more, so sometimes thousands, because you have to have like multiple characters, thousands of dollars every few months to be able to compete. I'm not going to do it. And that's why I feel like they haven't done it, because there was counters, like there was SOKR and there was JMK. So and SOKR is super accessible. You could have them for like $30 in a few months time, to be able to compete with those datacrons. But I think the second that they cross the line of they create a datacron that can't be beat by anything other than that mirror, then I feel like that's the line that should never be crossed.
That's a fair point. If you only have an exclusive team that can be beaten by that exclusive team in a mirror, then there's an issue. That
Yeah.
I agree with. That's probably actually definitely crossing the line.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of people would be very upset. I'm sure people were upset at Great Mothers. Like even I've benefited. Like I've faced them. It's not like I haven't. I beat them. I faced them in Squad Arena. I've done it with SOKR. I've done it with JMK just in case I would face them in Grand Arena. I didn't feel like those counters were like so difficult or so impossible to play that it was like super RNG based. Like of course there's some factors, but those factors are usually like, okay, I have to bring in a second team to clean it up, because if you don't get that second hit with SOKR, like if they die on that first hit, then yeah, you can lose, because then they could just like get a lucky hit on SOKR and kill them, and then you run out of that turn meter train. But I like at that point the Great Mothers are usually dead, and then you can bring almost anything in to clean them up. And I don't feel like that's the worst thing in the world compared to, like if that counter was like super RNG based, it's like a 20% win, and if you and even if you do lose it, it's not clean upable, then I feel like, okay, yeah, that's a bit ridiculous. But I did not feel like if anyone was like watching content creators or watched top end players or looked at insights or anything like that, I feel like they should have been able to see that, like, okay, here's the counters and this is how you beat it. Because in TW, my guild has like I've we have some great mothers, and I've seen guilds just like smash into them in our front walls, and they can't get past them for whatever reason. They'll throw like 20, 30 players fighting these things, and I'm like, I don't know what they're doing and why they can't, but I'm sure it's very frustrating for those lower tier guilds that just don't know, and they just like, okay, this sucks, like we lost because the enemy had some great mothers and we could not counter it.
Yeah, no, you make great points. Luckily there are two, or there were two counters for the Great Mothers. We still have access to JMK. So in terms of a squad arena, very accessible to climb. In terms of Grand Arena, them coming out with an exclusive character means it's pulling another counter from another team
Yeah.
exclusively to use them. That's so I totally get it. You got to keep those players happy. It just makes it obviously more challenging for the players that aren't spending that money. But
Hmm.
at least we do have access to counters. We just have to change our strategy a bit. But you make
did
good
you
points.
did you use like SOKR and then you used like Night Sisters on Jabba or something?
So my strategy last season was I would save my Kylo for Great Mothers with the Attackercron. I've had
Hmm.
times where it failed.
Yeah.
One time I forgot to bring in Hux. I must have
Really.
completely. I was like, "What am I
Yeah.
doing?" And then the other time was I killed Great Mothers and I think Morgan, but then I didn't generate enough turn meter, and then Death Trooper Peridia used an AOE and one
Hmm.
shot my team.
Yeah.
But at least I was able to clean it up. But I think there's certain mods that you can do to Great Mothers to stop the Kylo attacker thing. But since that's gone, that doesn't matter anymore. But I would use Kylo for Great Mothers, and then for Jabba, I would use my Lord Vader with a support cron because that's not my favorite matchup by any means. I've talked about it on my channel a bunch
Hmm.
during my Grand Arenas, where if you don't land that buff immunity on Lord Vader on Chrysanthemum, the match is completely changed. But with the support cron level 6 applying buff immunity, I don't think it was resistible, so it made it possible. But that was typically what I would do against those two teams. And with the newer set, I think that counter is going to be a little bit easier for us because there's potency as a status effect for the Datacron. So I just rolled a Datacron with 200% potency without rerolling, so I got lucky with that.
Nice. Yeah, but you'll probably have to take Maul now because you're not going to have the crit damage ramping, right?
Oh, definitely,
Yeah, so
absolutely.
you're going to have to like ramp them the old fashioned way. But
Yep.
I do think people are a bit unfair with Lord Vader, like with his how good. I get it. Like I've seen people fail with Lord Vader on a lot of dumb stuff, but and same thing. Like I don't have Lord Vader, I don't have C. People say like they hate Lord Vader and they hate C because of like maybe sometimes they dropped a battle on that. Or they dropped a battle that they felt they should have won with those characters, and I see fail all the time. But I feel like they're good characters. I just there's only so many resources in the game. I just haven't gotten to them yet.
I know you don't have access to Lord Vader, but I always thought of this for a while. Like I like Lord Vader. I
Yeah,
think he's strong. I think he definitely has some weaknesses in his kit,
yeah,
but I think if I ever had to make one change to Lord Vader, I don't think it's anything crazy, but I'm curious in your opinion. Similar to how JMK is, when Lord Vader is able to get to his ultimate, to the full ult, do you
yeah.
think he should be able to ignore taunt? Or would
Yeah.
that be too overpowered?
No, I think that's fair. I think that's fair because pretty much like everyone else can. Like Leia can ignore taunt, JMK can ignore taunt. So I think Lord Vader should be on par with them. And I think if you're an ultimate, while he's an ultimate, him and maybe even his team should be able to ignore ult or ignore taunt.
I think that one change could make maybe the player base a little bit happy. I'm sure the developers have play tested it and it might be a little too strong, but even if just when he got to full ultimate, if he could ignore taunt in certain situations, so like you don't get stuck behind Chrysanthemum or you don't get stuck behind certain characters with taunt, like Kenobi, might make him a little bit better. But I was just curious about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think that would be good. Like I don't see it being game breaking or anything. And I think for the tier of GL that he is and his cost, I think that would be a fair I don't know, like buff to him.
As a minor buff slash tweak, just to make players. I don't know. I see a lot of hate on Lord Vader all over on Reddit, some videos, my videos. Yeah, he's a very fan favorite character. Maybe we wish he had cooler animations or abilities or stuff like that, but he's not a bad GL by any means. And also, I think players put a lot of pressure because he requires the most
He
Chirotex, I believe, or he's like the most expensive relic. But
he
not
used
Ahsoka's going to be now.
yeah, he used to be. I think Ahsoka probably outpaces him now even without her full requirements.
Yeah, I mean, three relic nines is that's pretty crazy. I wonder if there's going to be a fourth.
Yeah. So
But yeah,
I do plan on farming him because like with the change of the new assault battle, I'm double farming those requirements now. Yeah, I have like zero investment into Lord Vader. So right now I just finished Jedi Knight Cal. I just actually like this month I unlocked Leia and unlocked Jedi Knight Cal Kestis, and
nice.
now I'm going for. I still have some Zetas for Jedi Knight Cal Kestis and Seer, just to finish them off, and then I'm gonna go into Bo-Katan Mandalore. Once I finish her, I should have the shards farmed for the new Imperial remnants, and then I'll go for that. Finish Bo-Katan, or finish Bo-Katan Mandalore, and go into GL Ahsoka. I'm thinking is what I'll do, and then I'll probably do
So
Lord Vader after that.
I have a question in
Hmm.
terms of some characters.
Yeah, sure.
I've noticed you're doing a really good job in unlocking conquest characters,
Uh huh. Yeah, I've had them for
but
forever.
but
They're not invested in.
yeah, I see you have Maul and Luthen at looks like gear
Hmm.
7.
Yeah. So if
Is there?
yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
so my account, if you can think about it, so I came back from this game like 2 years ago, and in 2 years ago, I had like 2.8 million GP, like three relics. So now I'm 10.5 or 10.1 million GP, and there's only so many resources in the game. And I feel like a good way that I was able to grow my account so fast was I built characters based on income. So whatever would give me more income, like so if I farmed something, it would make my next farm faster is what I did. So if you look, I have all the salt battles, I have all the ships, I have all the yeah, I don't I'm like a strong anti-gas.
Really?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
I'll talk about that in a second. Yeah, so I farmed like of course mixed with like light speed bundles and trying to make sure that my like my farming pathway is taking advantage of what I think the next bundles will be. Because like I didn't farm separatists like at all. I had like General Grievous at gear 12. Because I felt like, okay, sooner or later they're going to have a bundle for that, because I felt like there's going to be a gas bundle, which means there's going to be a Padme bundle, which means they're going to come out with separatists. So they're going to either do like Geos or the other ones. And so I was able to take advantage of like most, if not all, Lightspeed bundles except for the SOKR one. And that's a good reason why I like my account is as big as it is right now, but also prioritizing income. So, and I'm still doing it because I don't know if you're, because you went to school for IT. I don't think you really would have covered this unless you did like a business class or a like a psychology 101. But there's something called Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and it's based on like you have to focus on your lower needs, like food, shelter, then social constructs, then at the top of that prioritization of needs is like what drives you as a person, like usually, like uh whatever, and that's just like this priority of needs. So I converted that into a Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes like farming priority of needs into like guild income, fleet income for crystals, assault battles, first GL ship kind of thing. And that is like my farming philosophy of what I use to like create my account. And it's based on like just getting more income. And it just coincides that it does decent in Grand Arena as well. So the problem with gas and mall is they, and even like Terran Malicos. I would love to get Terran Malicos. That's like been on my wish list for a while. Is they
One of my
don't
favorite characters.
Yeah, I really do because I have Seer. I just got Seer up and running, but now I have like another assault battle. Like the CG just keeps piling it on, right? So even DTMG, like these are all a Bad Batch, all characters I would love to have into my account, but there's only so much I can like, and I buy like that Monday pack, and I buy the Kyrotech bundle. My guild has access to Mandalore and Zepho, so I have like excellent income, but still I still have like almost no Kyrotechs. I have because I'm still building all these things, and it's a resource management game. So there's only so much stuff you can build, right? There's like a hard limit of, unless you're dropping like thousands of dollars, which I don't do. I spend at most like $100 a month, which is like I'm a content creator, and so I feel like it's content creation subsidizes my spending to the point that I feel comfortable dropping like $100 a month without thinking much about it. So, but with that income, things like gas just does not provide you additional income. Like he doesn't. And before Quadme was out, like there was no actual place for gas. Like before Quadme, like what was gas? He was a cheap defense that can be beat by CLS unless you threw in Captain Rex in there to counter that, which is turns off some of its functionability, and then also like takes away from Phoenix. Or it was like a messy offense, like even on like pretty mid stuff, like you would win, but it was like a very not clean win, so it's not efficient. So there was just like he has no income, he's not a good defensive character, and then he can beat a lot of things on offense, but it's like bad banners, and I'm efficiency player, so it never really made sense to have him in my account, compared to especially how expensive he is for like his requirements and his team to build him up. That's pretty much like a GL, and I don't even have all the GLs. So I would honestly rather have Bad Batch. I would rather have C. I would rather have Lord Vader than and if I farm Lord Vader, I would farm gas anyways. So that's what my plan was whenever I farm GL Ahsoka or Lord Vader, which is next, then I'll get gas up. So that's why he hasn't been invested in, and I'm a pretty big defender of not doing gas in early games, because if you ever start doing roster reviews, you're gonna see some accounts that go like bought the gas bundle, have gas, went into Lord Vader, and you're gonna see that even though there's like lightspeed bundles, their progress and their GP is gonna be way smaller than if you look at the players who probably went through like an executor into like a GL into a mix with a mixing in assault battles, because the account growth of the executor into GL mixing in assault battles is exponentially faster than someone who went like gas into Lord Vader, because by the time you finish that Lord Vader battle, like you have pretty much the same amount of income as you did when you first hit level 85.
I totally get your point in terms of like the roster development. Um, I just feel like you're putting in so much effort. Like you're beating all these conquests, and you're putting in, that takes a conquest. It takes a lot of
Mm-hmm.
time, and I totally understand the whole roster and using the value with it. It's hard. It's sad to see you getting all these great characters and they're not being utilized to like their. I totally understand that with Trench. Trench is not
Mm-hmm.
an essential, but like someone like Malagos is game changing for Grand Arena. That like that team is amazing. Maul is amazing. I know you don't have Lord Vader yet, but I totally get why you're focusing on other projects. Um, when you unlock these characters, are you unlocking them on their first round of conquest, or is it
Oh no, I don't.
typically
I
like
don't.
other boxes?
No, I don't get Redbox. I don't
Okay.
do it because for that very reason. Like I have Luthen there, right? So if I would have got Luthen at Redbox, he would have been sitting at the same exact place he is. So I get Gold Box, the one right under Red, just because it's like a quality of life thing. I don't have to be super sweaty with Conquest. I can buy the $10 pass, still unlock them within month 5, still use all that extra income to get like signal data, injector pieces, whatever guild extra gear I need, and a little bit of like bronzium wiring, and not have to worry or really honestly put that much effort into conquest other than doing farming my datacrons.
Totally get it. What's your opinion on the $10 pack for conquest that gives the extra
I
shards?
I think if anyone's going to spend any money in this game other than lightspeed bundles, it should be on that pass.
I
So
like it
it's
because of the Omicrons. I typically get it because of that.
yeah,
Um,
but it's
I
it's
know that might not be
everything.
the value, but
It's
yeah.
everything. You get like data cache, you get gear, you get the shards. And if you get those shards, then it gives you all access to all those signal data, all those injector pieces. And I know your account much different, right? Because you have like all that income, you have all those things. But if you look at like an early to mid game, like injector pieces are a problem, signal data is like a huge problem, like all that gear are problems. And that's helps every 2 weeks. It helps inject like extra stuff to make your account growth faster.
Yeah, like there's just different stages of the game where there's certain hurdles and crunches that you go through. Like I thought years ago that the Tech crunch was never going to stop for me. I'm like, I'm never
Hmm.
going to have enough. And now I'm sitting at 1,000 each, where I'm running out of places to apply them. Like, I don't like to gear up or relic characters that are useless. So I
Yeah,
probably could have put it on the lower end. But like, as soon as a new marquee character comes out and I get them at 3 or 4 star, I can put them to gear 11 immediately. And I'd say the only crunch for me at this stage of the game are the relic material, like the
yeah,
signal data
hmm,
and the Omicrons.
yeah.
I just don't have enough to apply. A lot of these great characters require 3. Like on Bane, on my main account, I only have 1 Omicron applied.
Oh
Luthen,
wow.
I only have the 1.
Yeah.
Like I have to be able to balance
Hmm.
being in a competitive TW guild and also trying to be competitive in Grand Arena, where you're facing players where they have double your Omicrons for GAC, or instead of having the one character Omicron like you, they have a triple Omicron Luthen, or they have the Saw Omicron. Like I finally, after a very long time with battling it, I finally applied the Omicron on Saw because I
Uh-huh.
just think it's so strong and it's made a big difference. But you're at a point where is your biggest crunch the Chirotech, or is it the relic material or the signal data? Like what's causing you from progressing?
Honestly, Zetas. Zetas right now.
That's my biggest one on
Zetas.
my alt account. It's
Yeah,
Zetas on my
Zetas.
alt.
I started putting like all my crystals into Zetas. Like I'll buy those daily crystal like Jawa deals. Like if they have like 7 Zetas for 1,600 crystals, I'll just like buy those. But Zetas is the biggest crunch I have right now. As like my Jedi Knight Calcestis doesn't have it, Seer doesn't have it. I have tons of characters that need them. I don't have it on. I don't have
See
Zetas.
Kelleran.
Yeah, I don't have my Zeta on Carolyn Beck. I don't have Zetas on Basilishan, which I want to lead for just to be my Malgus counter with Jedi Knight Cal Kestis. I don't have my Zeta on Kiadi Mundi. I don't have a Zeta on the Talon. I don't have a Zeta on B2. I don't have a Zeta like tons of Zetas that would really really help these teams. Uh, I just don't have them. So yeah,
I
even
f-
yeah,
I'm
go ahead.
happy you have a relic Malgus, because Malgus is just so
Yeah,
much fun.
I have the Leviathan, so
Yep.
but
Is that the only
the
reason why you geared him?
well, no, I would have geared him anyways. He's an amazing character, but I did because I actually when I farmed Leviathan, I had because I returned back, I went executor or SOKR executor Leviathan. Like I
Oh
had
really?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's I know it was weird, but it was because the fleet shard, and my fleet shard is like really old. It's a 6-year-old shard, and I had an executor, and I was at the time it was like profundity and executors. I was able to climb to first, but my assumption was like, hey, all these dudes who've been playing for 6 years are gonna have the Leviathan. If I want to be competitive, I need to do that, and I was getting pushed down to like the 20s every day. So I didn't want to. I wanted to make it easier, so I wasn't like specifically targeted. It was probably the best investment I've ever made on this account was going for Leviathan when it was first released.
I mean, your ships are virtually perfect. I don't see any flaws in your ships. I think you do a
Just
really good job with them.
just the Marauder is the biggest thing right now.
All
Like
because of the Bad Batch
mhm,
gear.
mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just haven't had the bandwidth yet because like there's always I'm like I'm still at the point where I'm still farming income things. Like my guild, we're 540 ish now million GP. We just got access to Mandalore, so I'm trying to get Bo-Katan Mandalore. One, because she's like an amazing character, and two, I just want to make sure that we have access to Mandalore every month. So that's why I farm Jedi Knight Cal Kestis. So that's why I'm farming Mandalore. And then, then GL Ahsoka is probably going to be huge, and then I'll go for Lord Vader as long as they don't release a new capital ship in that time. I may have to like push off Lord Vader for that.
It's so hard where we're at a point in the game where if you don't have what's new, you fall behind kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like for newer accounts, like if you didn't get Queen Amidala or you don't have those the raid teams, you're struggling on getting those materials for the raid, for
Mhm.
the your relics. So it's like, what's your opinion on focusing on older projects and then trying to also keep up with what the game is providing you? Like for Conquest, if you don't get those marquees at like
Mhm.
certain levels for cheesing or trying to get like those certain kills with certain characters, you're gonna fall behind even further. So like, where do you distinguish or balance trying to keep up with what's coming at you, what's new, and trying to also fill your roster with what's not unlocked yet?
So I'm a firm believer in farming all your shards. So the only shards I have to farm right now are pretty much like the new stuff. Like I've shard farmed everything. That's not a Cantina farm. That's not my main farm. So I believe as long as you have the shards farmed, then you can farm whatever you want. And balancing new farms from old farms, I think, is important on like what are they giving you? Because like Gungans, while they're going to be great and important for Conquest for a while, I skip them and I use like Quadme to get good guild income enough to be like acceptable. Plus like the Separatists, and then that Lightspeed bundle pack for like the Jedi. So, but as where I am in the game, I'm not. I don't think it's like crazy important to farm everything the first time it's out. I think it's fine to like get it a little afterwards and see what it's bringing to the table before I go for it. And then in between the must haves, I try to get in like past stuff. So like I got JMK not too long ago and Leia, Jedi Knight Cal Kestis, like older farms. And then while I'm shard farming all these new things like Padawan Obi-Wan, Queen Amidala, now the Peridia, Imperial Remnant team. I'm now double farming those because I think those are a must have, especially for someone like you where your Omicrons are a bottleneck. Having the access to possibly like 10 Omicrons a month through RNG factors could be like huge. So like I do think it's important to see first like what is it doing, what is it bringing, because if it's just like raw power, believe it or not, it's not like I'll lose a grand arena or two, that's fine with me because I didn't have something. But compared to like something like the Imperial Remnant team where it's going to give me 20, probably like 26, because I'll refresh the level 9, probably like 26 million credits, and then more slicing material, more chirotech, more relic materials, signal data, and Omicrons and Relic 9 materials passively. That to me is worth going all in. And then it just happens to feed into the best GL that we're probably going to get, depending on like how much she's going to cost, I assume. And all of like all of Ahsoka characters are like bangers, right? Like every single, there's not a bad Ahsoka character, and I could only imagine how great her GL version is going to be. So I think pushing towards that is going to be really important for players, and it just happens to feed into an amazing assault battle. So I would say something like that is a must-have, where like Balin Skull, great mothers, while they're great characters, they don't give you more income. I think I could skip those for now and just back farm them slowly until like either I'm waiting for new content, then I'll push and get my Balin Skull and Great Mothers, compared to like the Imperial Remnant, and GL Ahsoka is probably like a farm right now, and it's just when you don't have the bandwidth to farm everything, I think you just have to kind of like pick and choose.
Like for example, I see that you must very much value you like events that provide resources. Like I see you have your Padawan Obi-Wan and your Qui-Gon at Relic 9. I'm
Yep.
assuming that's for the assault battle.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so like you're very I see that you're very particular with focusing on certain you want to invest in characters that are providing more to your roster in terms of resources and income.
Yeah, so if you can see, I don't know if you noticed it while looking at my account, but Relic 7 is kind of my ceiling unless they're a requirement, except for JML, because he
JML,
just
yeah.
doesn't, yeah, he just doesn't perform unless he's Relic 9. I think the only one is like Star Killer. I'm taking to Relic 9 right now for a platoon, and then the rest are just like requirements.
Relic 9 Star Killer is gonna hit pretty hard.
Yeah, I was not too upset when I when that I had to do that platoon. So I don't mind the Relic 9 Star Kill. Not the best timing, right? Because I feel like there's so many new Relic 9 requirements, but you do have to balance between like personal goals and guild goals, and I'm more than willing to take on a platoon to further the guild.
Totally get it. I had to take my Old Republic droid to Relic 8 when we first got the TW or
Oh,
TV
really?
platted. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay. But she ended up being a requirement for Leviathan, but only
Yeah.
Relic 5, but I was like, you know what, it's not a big deal.
Oh, sorting?
So yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But that leads me to another question, but you pretty much answered it. You don't like to punch up the relic levels of any characters unless they need to be
Yeah,
at their minimum.
I believe, at least where I'm at, like Relic 7, they perform the way they need, for the most part. Like I do think important characters like Bane, Malgus, like lifters, or Bush Leia, Kersantin should be Relic 7 minimum. Because that, I think the difference between Relic 7 to Relic 9 is really negligible. Even my GLs, like I think most of them, as long as the modding is good, which I have like decent mods, then that is what you need to have them perform. Where if they were like a Relic 5, like Relic 5, you face a Jabba that has like Relic 5 requirements, that's going to be a really easy Jabba to beat. Where just boosting them up to like Relic 7 gives them the survivability and damage to kind of like be a threat. So I do think that is a good in between for someone who's like farming new things, because I would rather have all my stuff at Relic 7 and have, two, three, four more teams at Relic 7 than have all like Relic 9s and be missing like more GLs and more legendaries. Because with datacrons and everything and decent modding, you can still get everything you need out of them at Relic 7, compared to like Relic 9 is like where you're going to create issues for defense, where it just like kind of changes up some matches, which just isn't where I'm at in the game.
I totally understand. So, I mean, there's some times where I face rosters that every character is Relic 9. It's actually frightening, but I can still pull out the win even though I don't have the Relic 9s in comparison to them.
Yeah.
There are some characters that just perform really well at their certain Relic level. I do think that there are certain tanks at at certain stages of the game where
Mhm.
if they're at Relic 9 made a big difference. Like I remember when Lord Vader used to be really he still is very strong on defense, but I would face a Relic 9 Royal Guard,
Yeah.
and that would completely stop certain counters for me because I couldn't get him down in time, or I
Hmm.
couldn't. It was just certain counters like that where there's like that extra relic level made a difference. But for the most part, most characters perform at the relic level that they're required.
I think the biggest thing is for like getting as many waves as you can in TB. I would love to have like relic 8s and relic 9s just so I could actually like the last 2 days I'm pretty much like ships. Like I can do like one or two combat missions and all ships. Because I just don't have the relic 8 and 9. Like they're all requirements, so there's no like fully functional teams to be able to like do to be that effective. So, and luckily ships are still worth a decent amount, like usually a million plus at that level. So I can still do like three or four of those, but I would rather have like pretty much I have like a Jedi team through like the Padawan Obi-Wan, Master Qui-Gon, JML, like to be able to do some stuff. But that's probably the biggest thing I feel like the relic 8s and 9s hurt me is as we get higher and higher in TB, I feel like I'm not able to contribute as much because I just don't have I can't do the waves that, like the bigger accounts can.
Yeah, TB is it's a little time consuming for like trying to do all the game modes at one time, especially with me. I have two accounts.
Hmm.
So trying to go back and forth with trying to like do TB, Conquest, Fleet Climb, but what planet do you guys get past? Like what's your
So we get
highest
39.
relic planet?
We get to 39 stars. Would I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't remember the names of any of these things. I know some people like put to memory. Here, let me click on this and see. I'll bring it up on mine. So, God, what do we do?
I think my guild gets to like the last one is like a relic 9 planet.
Yeah,
It's like
Vandor.
the last day.
The
It
middle
might
one,
be.
Vandor is the one that we get. And I think we just get to like 1 star on Vandor or something. But the goal is for us to push into Hoth or I don't know if it was Hoth or what's the light side one?
My
Scarif?
guild's at 41, I think, 41 stars.
So yeah, it was one of those Hoth or Scarif. So we're building the platoons right now, and whichever one finishes first, either like mixed or light side, is the one that we'll push into. So it's kind of like a race. So we're doing the platoons for both right now, and whoever probably mixed. So we'll probably push into Hoth shortly. I think the goal is to like February or something is to have the platoons ready for Hoth and Scarif so that we can start pushing for like those higher like 40s for our stars.
Gotcha. It's awesome that you guys have guild collaboration where you guys are taking, certain characters to high relics just to be able to help you guys progress.
Yeah, it's honestly it's not that much if because we there's like 50 people, right? So if we all took like one relic 9 and then some had to take two, which they volunteered for it. So you just take one for the team and they're not all horrible. Like I have Star Killer, so I feel bad for like the dude who has to take like I forgot which one it was, but it was like one of the resistance unnamed characters to relic
Oh
9.
no.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, that sucks, dude. But other than that, it's not that big of a deal. I think as long as everyone contributes, then you know, it's we all get there.
Do you have a favorite game mode that you enjoy the most? Is it
Game
Grand
mode,
Arena?
so like Grand Arena would probably be the game mode. Honestly, what I love in this game and what I used to because like I'm a busy dude, like I really am, from like when I wake up until I go to bed. Like it's just like nonstop, like with my work, the requirements of it, all that stuff, like my family. It's like it's a lot of stuff. I am like an adulting, so most adults are just like really busy. And so because I even tried making a free to play account and I just could not play two accounts at once. I don't know how you do it. But I noticed that I play my account mostly in between like my breaks, or I'll like take a second at work and just like do a few things. And I was like, I just can't handle even like collecting energy or doing events or even like shipments and stuff like that. I was like, I can't do it. I tried it and I was like, I just can't balance the time of it. But if I had to choose one, it would probably be Grand Arena. But my true passion in this game is like account building, like trying to be as like efficient as possible, making that farming pathway. And especially when I was like a low to mid game player and I just like didn't have anything, I'm like, how can I squeeze this stone to like get this account going, you know? So I think that's like my greatest passion and why I love doing, you know, like roster reviews and engaging with the community with that stuff is because I love building a farming pathway and like making farming tabs and just like trying to be as efficient as possible and like, okay, what zetas do I not need, what omicrons do I not need, like what relic levels are these guys actually gonna like do what I need to do, and I can get the most out of it. And that's probably like where my true passion lies, is that. But Grand Arena is
I do
fun.
have a passion for that. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for me, I do like progressing my roster. Obviously, I'm at a point where I don't have much to do unless it's the newer characters. But like when I was first starting, I was super excited to make sure I had. My goal was to always get every legendary character, every epic confrontation, just whatever was. I didn't want to do any other side project. Like I just wanted to be really efficient with the legendaries, the
Yeah.
conquest. But now I'm at a point where I can work on some of those side projects. Well, I shouldn't say now because this new Ahsoka is requiring a lot.
Yeah.
There's so many more keys coming, so
Are you planning on taking the Imperial Remnants to R9 for their new assault battle?
I do not because I need
What?
to save.
What?
I
You said your
I have to
Omicrons are
wait.
your bottleneck.
I know, but like I have to take 3 of them to Relic 9. I don't have the signal data.
Yeah.
I
No,
have
I mean like
to.
after GL Ahsoka, are you planning on getting
Oh yes,
eventually? Yeah.
yes, because I have a theory that the next raid is going to require
Yeah, them in
the
there.
Remnant
Mhm.
and the Spectre tag. So
Yeah, I do think they'll probably have some like UFUs, mercenaries, Pearl Remnant, Spectre. Yeah, I do foresee that. That from the show GL Ahsoka show. I think that's the next. I'm hoping horde, like endless horde of zombies. I'm thinking
yeah,
that.
it's gonna be a zombie
Uh-huh.
type of TB or
Yeah,
T a raid.
I'm
Yeah,
I'm I'm hoping hordes of zombies into what's her name? um the
Morgan.
yeah, Morgan. Yeah, I'm hoping hordes of zombies into like an actual boss with Morgan would be awesome. That would
I
be.
just hope that whatever raid they decide they do, please make it less time consuming because I think
Yeah, it's
honestly
horrible. It really
the
is
biggest
horrible.
problem with the game right now, in my opinion, is the raid because it just takes way too much time. It's RNG. When they remove your buffs, it's complete. Just you got to restart your run sometimes.
Yeah.
That takes more time than any other game mode for me. And I'm in a guild where you need to hit a minimum of I think 10.3 or 10.5 mil.
Yeah.
So you got to get some really good runs.
Yeah, so that is really horrible. Or sometimes you get stuck with like one one dude, you know, like it's just like one other guy survives and it's like the commander and then like the one dude and you're just like, okay. And it's just
Yep,
like they
don't
just
take it
keep
out.
taking turns and you're like, okay, this is over now. Like the enrage is too high.
And I have to do that on 2 accounts. It
Yeah.
is painful.
Are
Painful.
both your accounts in the same guild?
Different guild, but same alliance.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I honestly don't know how you do it. I can't, like, even I forget to like when I was playing my free to play, I was like, did I join Grand Arena? Did I do this? Do I do that? And maybe do you play them both on like a computer at the same time or?
So I have a period in the morning where I'm commuting on a train,
Oh
so I'm
yeah.
able to go into Game Center on my phone. I'll do whatever I need to do on my main, and then I'll go on Game Center, log in. So I have a good hour 20 in the morning, then lunch, and then I'll have a commute back. And then I love using. There's times where I'll be on my computer and I'm logged in on the game on the EA app on my main, and on
Hmm.
my phone I'll be on my alt, and I'll try to do like I'll sim battles in TB at the same time, or I'll try to do conquest sim it at the same time. It gives me an option to have more areas to test certain things. Um, I like to do on my main account. It's big. I've been playing for a long time. I can put some extra resources in some characters. My ult, I like to treat as like a bare minimum kind of thing
Mhm.
where you get the characters to the relic that you need. See if you can do some testing on some lower end stuff that players might not have access to, like Relic 8 or Relic 9. Like the counter I made for Executrix against Executor,
Yep.
I did on my alt account, and I had only Relic 5 on my Grand Inquisitor, Relic 5 on my 5th brother. They're not high Relic. Or I have Grand Inquisitor at Relic 7 and my 5th is at Relic 5. I never bumped him up. Or I don't have full 6 dot mods or Zetas on my Tarkin.
Okay.
And I just like to show on that account, kind of like you don't need everything super high to get things done, kind of.
Yeah.
So I like to have the both, and I do try. I'm trying to do a free to play series coming up. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to be able to handle 3. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I want to be able to create more content for new players as well, so that we can keep this game growing.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's jump into your account real quick. All right. So now we have your account open, Vexitron. Like I was saying before, you're a bit of a little bit of a tryhard here with the 1-in-1, Kyber one. So yeah, and the Senate Mandalore. I am familiar with the guild. I've played some of your guild members. I don't remember any of their names. I just remember the name. Yeah. But you're saying that Balin Skull about your account. This is the first character you wailed on.
Yeah, so pretty much I've never really dropped crazy amounts of money on the game. I've said it earlier, I've been playing since launch, like a month after launch. I'll throw a couple tens and twenties here. But since starting content creating and creation, I wanted to try to see if I could just get more stuff out, and I wanted to finally decide on getting a character first. So I was like, I want to go all in on Balin. So I dropped. I had a ton of crystals hoarded because I was just saving and saving and saving. Where I would use a bunch of crystals to get the characters to 5, and then I would drop. I think I dropped $200 in total to get the remaining characters to 6, and then I would use the event to get them to 7.
Yep.
And I was eventually able to get Balin at on the first unlock, and I really wanted to just get that video out right away. But I know not a lot of players are going to be able to get him. But I really like the character a lot. I think he's super cool, especially in the Ahsoka show. Like they left such a cool. I mean, I don't want to get into spoilers, but the ending with direction they're taking his character is really cool.
Yeah.
Obviously, the actor passed away, but
Yeah, that was sad. I
back to
really do
him.
like the actor. He's a good actor. He's in the other guys. It's a pretty funny guy,
Yeah,
actually.
he is in the
That
other guys. I love
yeah
that. I actually love that movie.
yeah
And this is the first character on release where I applied all 3 Omicrons at once. The only other character I did that for was Malgus because I was just so excited to get him that I pulled it. The same thing on Balin. On Malagos, when I locked him, I applied 2. I didn't apply the third one until maybe earlier this year because it helped with the Ray counter, but I was really excited for Balin.
okay yeah kind of a small account here, only 12.5 million.
Honestly,
Yeah.
compared to everything I face, I'm always the lowest GP. You'd be
Yeah.
surprised.
Well, I know a lot of it has to do with like a lot of the players maximize or like relic all this like garbage down here just for GP. And then the relic nines do add up over time, especially over like and combined with like ships and everything having all these, And then you're this super lackluster level 75 Jedi consular.
You know what? I was debating on getting
Yeah.
him up to snuff for
Yeah.
the Datacron set, but I was like, you
Yeah.
know what? We'll hold off.
Yeah, I had someone who got really mad at me because I just said when I looked at the datacrons, I was like, I think I don't think that one is as good as the bear or not bears, the what's her name? The other UFU that goes in there.
Oh,
Visas Mar. Yeah,
Thesis,
yeah,
yes.
because I was just like, yeah, I think the Visas Mar Datacron will probably be better for Star Killer, and it just ended up being Attacker Cron is probably the best, anyways. But and I was like, and no one's gonna have Jedi Consular at Relics where everyone will have Visas, and the dude really took it personally. So
Did you really?
yeah, I don't know. I didn't. He's a content creator, and he was just like Captain Amazing, f you and your opinions. I was like,
Wow.
what? Yeah, I don't know. He was a weird dude. But so anyways, yeah, but Set 16, man. Really, really brought out the crazies. But
Yeah.
you have a good amount of Relic 9s. What's up with Dark Trooper Moff Gideon? What's the Relic 9 with this guy?
So for Relic 9, I was thinking on the time of his release that mentioned that Relic 9 really amplified tanks.
Hmm.
So
It does.
you invest a lot of time and effort into Conquest characters, you get really excited. Put the Relic 9 on him specifically for him being a tank. And I knew that we were going to use him in Territory War, so I knew it would help out my guild tremendously. So that was kind of like the mentality with Dark Trooper Moff Gideon. I typically
Any?
do not put Conquest characters directly to Relic 9. I usually put them at 7. If I'm really excited about them, put them to 8.
Hmm.
But that was the mentality with putting him to 9 is because he's a tank.
Any regrets?
With him, I don't really have any regrets because I am getting used with him regardless in any game mode that I use. He's great in Grand Arena, depending
Hmm.
on the datacron. He's amazing in TW. I'm able to get perfect waves in TB with him as well with his team. But I don't regret anything with him. I would have regretted putting more Omicrons because I'm so short on them, but I think the lead is helping my guild just fine.
How do you do your splits? Your Imperial Remnant splits?
So I do not have
The Captain
the
Enoch yet?
I don't have him yet. So what I'm trying to do now is I kind of make a super team with the Night Sisters, since the board is kind of small for Kyber One. Like you don't get to fully utilize your roster.
Hmm.
So I was like, all right, I have Night Trooper and I have Death Trooper finally at Relics. That let me make a super team with Great Mothers because this increases the chances of the Kylo counter going down because of the foresight, the AOE. I've seen it fail a ton of times. So I'll put Night Trooper and
Oh,
Death Trooper.
look at this. An enjoyer of the broken cron.
When I
Yeah.
tell you I had to use my horde, I went from
Yeah.
20k to like 1,000 for Great Mothers. I didn't drop a single penny on Great Mothers. That was all my horde.
Really,
It
20K
was
is not
everything
that
else.
much. Did you get lucky, or
I got a couple of 15s, but nothing crazy.
did you buy them out of, because they're not in shipments, right? You have to buy them in like gamble packs.
I did the gamble packs.
I thought it was closer to like 40 or 50K for that. Or oh, maybe it's half now because of the 6 to
The
7.
the new marquee structure is actually really, I'm not going to advocate for spending, but if you do spend, it makes it so much better because all you have to do is get the character to 6 stars, and then
Yeah.
the rest is 6 to 7 is taken care of by the event. So you know what? If I remember correctly, I used my horde, but I bought the marquee pack that gave you the 5 Omicrons, which was like $30.
Uh-huh. Oh,
So
so
I
so
used my horde and it
the
did that.
truth comes out. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, no, no. That's that I
Yeah.
did spend on. I
Okay.
remember.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's not bad. So I do buy only like three gamble packs or something usually, just so I can. It takes them almost to 5 stars, which is still a decent. Like for someone who because I slowly farm them, right? Like once they're farmable. So buying like 2 or 3 gamble packs so that I can get the free shards throughout the week, it's still worth it. I think even for those who, if you're going to engage in them at all before they're accelerated, I think it's worth it.
Absolutely. I'd say prior to me dropping money on the Balin characters, all my Gungans I took to 4, and then I would just use the marquee. And I didn't get Jar Jar first unlock. I got him on second unlock.
Yeah. Relic 8.
So
Okay.
I did that for my guild. My guild was with the
Is
requirements for the
isn't it only like 7 and 9 for the raid?
for relic levels. No, there's a tier. There's a
Is
relic A
there?
tier.
Oh, is there a relic 8 here? Oh, I didn't. I thought it
Yeah,
was like
it's
7, 9.
I think it goes from 18 to 2.7 to
Oh yeah, that's
3.6.
right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So they're a full auto team. That's that. I don't even have to look at my phone. That's the Gungans are super helpful for the raid.
Well, you have the raid Omicron, so you
Honestly, it's saving
yeah, saving
me
time. Yeah.
time.
Yeah, I get it. Because that's one thing. We touched on it before a little, but the raid timing is even at my like I don't have to get super high participation, but still just to get like decent participation, it's an incredible time sink. Because I remember during the speeder bike raid, I told people, I was like, guys, like, have you ever seen The Office?
Yes.
Where he's it was like close to the, I think it was like the last season or close to the last episode, where I forgot his name, like Bernard or whatever, the guy
Uh-huh.
from, he was like, I wish we know when we're in the good times. And I was like, guys, this is the good times. Like you guys don't know it. Like people are hating on this raid. I was like, this is the good times. You just don't know it. Like super accessible, new player friendly raid, really low RNG. You could even auto it if you wanted to. Like it's super quick. Each run takes a few minutes. And you just do the right steps, you use the right abilities, and you beat it with decent points. Where now it's like you have to retry after retry. It takes what, like 8 minutes or something to be a to fully do the raid without like with no issues. And then that's not including like the if there's any RNG factors, if you have to restart, and it's just an incredible time sink. And I hate, I'm probably gonna have to do mine today, and I really do not look forward to it every single time I have to do it.
Think you nailed it right there. I think the speeder bike was by no means any fun or anything interesting, but
Not at all.
it you can get everything done in one run. I only had to remod one time for that raid, and that was for the Leia solo, and that would get you a max score. Every
Yeah.
other team, you just throw on auto, you get a good score, and it just was way less time consuming than what we have now. If you don't get the perfect RNG, if you don't finish the wave correctly, you're done. You're not gonna get a good run. It just. My favorite raid was the Sith raid. Personally, I really enjoyed that raid. I thought it was really really fun. But yeah,
Okay.
is
You
my
know
raid
you're
missing a mod?
Yeah, do you know you're missing a mod on your raid?
That is from the raid.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep, I have to constantly remod for this raid, and I'm
Yeah.
taking.
Do you use hot utils or do you just?
I don't. I should though.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
Do
I
you?
no, I don't. I like to manually do it just because a lot of my content is like I'm probably most well known just for like my mod guides, and I actually do a mod workshop where I like remod people's accounts. So I enjoy the mod experience. It doesn't bother me. So I like doing things manually. Not, of course, when I'm like changing stuff and having to use loadouts, but I would love. I think accounts like yours, if I was where you are in the game, because are you changing your mods for like TW?
Sometimes we have to. Can't
Yes,
disclose what we do, but
got it. So
yeah.
no, but
But
for
sometimes we do.
if I was in your position, I would, because I would have like a TW loadout, I would have like a GAC loadout, I would have a raid loadout, and where you are in the game, I think that's where hot utils really is a huge benefit because it just like, hey, click this button and then boom, TW saved, and then you lock in and then you change it back so that your opponents can't see what mods you locked in until you're already in, right? So, yeah, I totally get it. Everyone's like so shush shush about about
Yeah, I
the
have to be. I have to be careful. I know. I don't want to ruin anything for my guild. They work really hard as TW leaders.
yeah.
So
I don't, yeah, so I like my guild, this guild hasn't like sworn me to secrecy, but my last guild was actually very good. They had like a 90 some percent win rate in TW. Like we're, of course they were a smaller guild, like in the 500 to 520 million GP, but they had something like a ridiculously high win percentage rate. And I pretty much, when I joined, they were just like, yeah, just don't talk about our TW or what we do or the counters or whatever. And so this guild allows me to at least do my attacks if I wanted to. And then, but still, if it's not, if I didn't create it or if it's not like public knowledge, I won't like, I won't put it out there. Like, of course, if they're like, someone's like, how do you counter geos in TW? I'm not going to be like, I can't tell you. It's like there's
yeah,
plenty of things that can do it. So and a lot of everyone knows because it's like a really early game thing, but I'm not going to disclose the inner workings or secrets of my guild. And I get like, especially where you probably are you technically in the gauntlet?
We're
Top
not
20?
technically a gauntlet. I don't think we're technically a gauntlet guild,
Yeah, okay.
but we are. Our I was just looking up our record. We have one loss in 6 months. We're 25-1 in the past 6 months. So
Well, no
got a
one's
pretty good
perfect,
record.
right?
Yeah. So they
Uh,
work really hard. We have really good TW leaders. I have to admit.
Yeah, so they do work hard, and they like put a whole lot of work in like modding and counters, and because there's no public data. Like for Grand Arena, it really is easy. It's not like I'm this Grand Arena master that like sits back here and crunches numbers and thinks of counters. I'm like, let me bust open insights and see what works, and that's it. Like that's as good as someone who needs to, as long as you can of course like execute. But as far as theory crafting, all you have to do is bring up insights. Like I remember when I didn't have a Leia counter in 3v3, I like I busted out insights and I was like, okay, what is the best counter I can do right now because I'm struggling. And then it was something like Riva, Starkiller, Darth Vader. And I was like, okay, this is like out of the box, but let me try it with the Datacron or something. And it works. So, and it's like, okay, my brain didn't think of that. I just like copied someone. But in TW, people are like, okay, we need this counter. How are we going to do it? And then they go and they have to like make it from scratch. They have to go out, do the counters in squad arena or whatever they're going to do to kind of like figure that stuff out. So, and even like the defenses and stuff of how they plan everything and having like, okay, what do we utilize, what do we have available, what are we going to use, like that's a whole buttload of work. So I commend them on their, I don't know how they do it. That's like a whole last job right there.
I was literally about to say it must be like a second job because I know they're constantly testing, spending crystals, taking time, trying to get these perfect counters for us. They do a phenomenal job. I really have to admit it.
Yeah, I honestly don't think the rewards are worth it for the amount of effort people put into TW. Everyone's like so hush hush about it as if these awards were like amazing. And honestly, they're pretty mid. They're pretty lackluster for the it's all pride. I think it's all 100% like pride.
It's mostly pride. I do think that the reroll mats are big important in
Yeah.
the beginning for Grand Arena,
Well,
but
that
like
but a lot
really,
of those upper guild, like all the upper guild members or a lot of them, the amount of money that they're putting, those are like the spenders. So if you're like in the
oh yeah,
gauntlets or the top, they don't care about those reroll mats. That's like, oh, that's like, 2 seconds of working for me. Like they can just buy what they need. So I don't think they rely on those reroll mats. Like for me, players like me, I need those mats. That's the only way I'm getting them. So because I'm not putting money into datacrons, but I do think like at the top tier, I think it's an absolute crime at the level of like care and effort they put towards the rewards are just like atrocious.
oh yeah. Expect like we're talking about like the top 5 guilds in the game. They don't need that material.
Yeah,
It's
not at
purely
all.
just to get that W.
Yeah, pride. Do you remember the huge controversy where they're like they cheated, they they
Yeah, I do
infiltrate.
remember them.
I just remember thinking like operational security opsec, I don't know, like personally I didn't really care whatsoever, and if someone took the secrets of the guild, I don't think it's like that big of a deal. They should really just do a better job at not disclosing their stuff or sealing their leaks. But I don't feel like it was this huge drama that needed to be advertised personally. But
I remember back in the day, this was a while ago, that Warrior, the YouTube content creator,
mhm.
I think he got kicked from his guild for releasing a counter. I forgot what it was, but I
Oh
remember there's
really?
a whole controversy for that.
Oh,
I
he
was just
like
like, that's
advertised
crazy.
it.
I think so. I think he did a video on one counter where he said something and they kicked him from the guild, I think. But
I could
yeah,
I
they
could
take it
see
very
that.
serious.
I could see that because yeah, especially if you like think of that counter and it's like it gives you a competitive edge, and then this guy just like releases it to everyone, and you're just like, brosif. I get
No,
it.
I get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but because like I'm not that invested in TW to the point where I'm like Honestly, it's probably one of my least favorite game modes. Like I don't enjoy playing TB. Don't get me wrong. I don't like doing all those waves in the time. I don't mind it though, and I really do love the rewards. I think it's really important for account development. But I think TW, a lot of players just don't even engage in it. They just like don't join, and a lot of guilds don't make it mandatory because if you get like 4 or 5 people who don't want to play, then it gives them an easier matchup, and they don't have to worry about like being super competitive. Kind of like all balances out, like win-win. But like my guild does have all 50 members join, and we do a good job. But I just don't see the rewards being. And I think if they were to change one game mode, it needs to be TW. Like I think it's just really horrible, especially at that top end. Like the effort that they're putting in and the effort and the rewards they're getting are just they're just not it.
I do agree that there needs to be some sort of update with TW. It's been a very long time. But my question for you is in terms of like the rewards. I agree that the rewards are not worth the investment that takes the time and the omicrons and all that. But as a resource management game and droid brains being so hard to get, how do you want players to get that material
Well, they're
besides from
opening it
TW?
up. They're opening it up now, right? With like the 2 new assault battles. Like we're just printing off R9 material as well now. So that I do get about an R9's worth of droid brains every month for pretty much for free for TW, and that's nice, right? But I think with these new assault battles, they're priming us for whatever it is that the next thing is, R10 or whatever new thing. But I don't. Of course, I think the materials should be in there, and if they do change TW, maybe they'll like up it so that like the next evolution of raid material will be in there. I think if
Yeah.
they ever maybe that's what they're waiting on because it's we've had R9 for a very long time, so I don't know what they're waiting on for the R10s. I'm thinking 2025 fleet is a good candidate for possibly having the next evolution of like our next bottleneck is because there's like they have to continue to get people to spend, and especially at that top end level, and there's whales that like are pretty much done with their R9s, right? And unless it's like something new, then they do that. So I think they're losing out on income by not having the next tier of just stuff that people can start pouring money in to get that a competitive advantage to like R10 or whatever it is it's going to be. So I don't know. This game, they you have to continually like build up, but you have to like adjust the rewards so that the average player can also feel like they're attainable without dropping their wallet by like all simultaneously making it so that some rich dude can just like drop some fat stacks and they can cash out on that. So I get it. I just don't know what they're waiting on.
No, I do agree. I think something is coming. I don't know what is taking so long. I mean, maybe R10, maybe it's another sort of relic or something. But
Mhm.
do you think they make a good amount of money off datacrons or not as much as we think?
I think they make a good amount of money, anyways. I don't know the breakdown. Like, I've honestly never looked at or studied their income. I know some content creators like go in and look at their quarterly earnings and see like how much they've made and everything like that. I never have. I'm sure that they make a decent enough money on datacrons compared to the amount of effort it takes to create them, right? Because it's all just like reskins, really basic artwork, uh, probably minimal amount of effort towards like okay what abilities or whatever they're going to do. So I think as far as like is it worth it for them, I 100% I think it's like worth it for them to you have a crazy amount of R9s already. Datacron's like a good amount. It's only been a few days.
So I kind of go with a different approach for when the new set starts.
Uh-huh.
I do the hundreds obviously because I want to rush to that level 4
Yeah.
node. So I will stop on the first week. I will not progress to sector 5.
Yeah, that's
I
what I
will just
did.
do the bonus node and just do all 50 and 100s into the uh, that material, and I don't have to worry about doing the sector 1 for the datacrons because I've accumulated so much shard shop currency from all the extra, ways of getting it. Like, I don't know if players realize that when they put more characters in the Galactic War store that weren't originally there, that's more short shop currency for the top end players. So I'm able to put every refresh. I could put like 9 to 10,000 short shop currency from just getting all those characters. So I'll buy datacrons from short shop currency, and then I'll straight up go to Sector 4, get the mats, and try to get as many level 9s as I can without spending any crystals on rerolls. Like, I've been trying really hard to get Grand Inquisitor, not finding luck there.
Well, you
But I
have like
do have.
really good Datacrons so far. You have the Shinhati, you have a good Terran Malicos, you have a good Star Killer, you have a good Maul one, Marjade. This is a good Marjade one. I don't know what you're gonna do with your Marjade one. Probably goes to someone else, right?
Yeah,
Um,
like, there's going to be some weird interactions with Starkiller because he no longer needs a Sith to get that extra assist. He's going to assist whenever another ally uses an ability on their turn.
mhm.
So I wonder if there's going to be a weird split with Starkiller this season where you don't need to combine Mara, Jade, and Palpatine. It could be something else maybe that we're missing.
Good, like a Darth Vader lead or something.
Yeah, even that. Like, he's just going to be able to
Mhm.
assist even more and just get to ultimate so
I,
quick.
my plan is just to use him with same thing, same team, and then use him to continue to be my Ray killer. Probably is
Hmm.
what I'm hoping to do. I was not lucky enough to roll him yet, so I'm still trying to build. But my Datacrons are way not this. I think you got a little unlucky with your stats for
I didn't get any offense.
yeah, I was looking at this. I was like, I've seen some that had like crazy offense rolls, and yours did not get any. So it's not horrible, but I think you want that offense,
the,
right?
the defense is nice, I think,
Yeah,
but the offense is definitely would be helpful for the sides. I wonder if he'll be very hard to kill with the thickness of the Kron, but still have to wait and see what the best level 6 is going to be. I think this one's pretty strong, but I wonder
yeah.
if the defense, the offense might be stronger.
I don't know. You can't re-roll them anyways. Well, you can, but then you don't no longer.
I can
There's
reroll the 3 and 6, but I'm not going to reroll the stats
yeah,
that they give because I won't be able to get those back.
yeah. It doesn't. It gives you like whatever the basic ones are, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So it is what it is, and that's like another crappy mechanic. But yeah, these are good. Like the all the stats and everything. So uh, this is not the level 6 you want, right?
I don't know. I want to test more. I think I've heard things about the defense to offense
Yeah, the
conversion being stronger.
400%
Yep.
offense one, or maybe the stun one. I hear is also okay, but you probably want the offense one. But
Yeah. I think I gotta think about it and do some testing and see.
yeah, but yeah, you have good Datacrons. I wish I would tell you the biggest limiting factor, and I'm sure you probably have this with your other account, is data cache. Like I can't use Shard Shop to progress my account and farm datacrons to this level. And that's the biggest thing. Like I'm sure you buy the data cache every refresh, you're just like in there just cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. And I don't have the income to have like enough progress to build as like the pace I need to and develop datacrons. So I'm hoping one day I'll develop my account to where I have everything and then I can start like going all in on like datacrons like this. But it really is the late game challenge of playing end game players is the difference of how much data cache potential I have compared to like how I want to progress with my account.
Yeah, it used to be a huge problem for me. I think a big quality of life change that they made was making the max from 30 to 60.
Oh yeah, that was huge, right?
That was like that's night and day. That allowed me to get so many more datacrons early on. I
Yeah,
think that was
because
a
you were
great.
yeah, because you were
Yeah.
just losing all this data cache, right? Like, because
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure you start breaking it down early and start like working it as soon as you can. But this is easily how much data cache do you get if you would like dump all this? Probably like a lot, right? Like, and it
Yeah,
way more
even
than
with the new
30.
set. With the new set, I was actively dismantling them and trying to
Hmm.
like not lose any, and I still lost 24 million worth of cash
Oh,
data because
really?
I couldn't because I did not have enough datacrons on
Datacrons?
the newest set to apply it. Where I was like, I'm just gonna have to lose all that data cache, even with all that to spend. I didn't have enough
Yeah,
to apply it.
that's insane. I don't lose any because I don't have as many to lose, so
Hmm.
it works out. But yeah, I thought like because I would lose some if it was 30 million, unless I like started working early. But I'm really happy with the 60 million. I do think it could be increased a little more. I'm hoping like
It
120,
definitely could be.
especially for like whales and krakens. I'm sure they, of course, they can just like buy more datacrons and invest it, but still, I'm sure there's loss there.
Oh, 100%. But I'm gonna stick to. I've always said this to myself. I'm not gonna spend any real money on anything Datacron related. I'm just gonna use everything that we have in-game currency and do my best with that. But I'm not gonna spend on any specific Datacron. I will if I have to spend money on a character that comes with a Datacron. That's different because I'm getting a character. But I will not put money on any material or rerolls like that. I don't buy any of the Datacron packs. I don't know how you feel about that.
I don't spend any money on datacrons, so I I I get those that do, especially at the super top end because it's frustration, right? Like all this game does is drive frustration and spending for frustration. And if you're facing someone that has like, 30 perfect datacrons with perfect rolls and you're here like you have datacrons but they're not perfect, I understand where that could be frustrating because I do see players like Zareth where he's in the world where you're in and then he'll just like play some accounts and just like lose and it's like frustrating because he's playing against like perfect datacrons where a player like me does not like and honestly that's the one thing as my account has progressed I feel like kind of sucks like with this squish is like I was playing a completely different grand arena than you like it was more casual it's fun like counters work like I don't have to worry about like every single team having a perfect datacron or like you know my opponent having ridiculous datacrons on every single team, and I was able to be a little more flexible. And it's like it's still a hard enough opponent where they have all the GLs, they have all the stuff, but it's definitely more manageable. Where now, as I'm like this, I'm pretty much staying where I am in Kyber 2 because I win about 5 out of 4, or I win 5 and 4 every month. So like but my opponents are just getting like stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger and it's not even at this point it's not a difference of like what they have in their account it's just like how good of a player are they and I've noticed as the squish continues to happen I'm just no longer playing huge accounts that suck I'm playing like huge accounts that know what they're doing and that is like all the biggest difference.
Oh yeah, 100%. I get the frustration.
Yeah, but I did see someone play with like a 8 million GP account. It still had like 7 GLs or something. It was like 8.4 or something up in like the upper Kyber twos. He faced a content creator and just like destroyed him. It was like a
Really?
different yeah, it was like a difference of like almost 4 million GP and the guy just like lost. So there are some players out there that utilize, of course, like more of a ground based datacron kind of advantage and are still competing. So I think if someone wants to punch up, this is the way to do it. Like datacrons are 100% because before it was like ships and mods will get you into Kyber, but if you want to like push up into like Kyber upper Kyber 2, Kyber 1, you just have to maximize these datacrons.
Yeah, it's true. It's I can't imagine trying to get into the top 500 of Copper One without investing in Datacrons. It just does not seem possible. It seems very hard to me. There's having every character, every ship, and then there's having the correct Datacrons. There's certain levels to this game, and each rank has a certain level threshold. In my opinion.
Which aren't some of these Night Sisters good for? Oh, do you use Acolyte pretty much with your? Great Mothers, what's the
So
split here?
the split that I do right now, because I don't have Enoch, is Great Mothers, Morgan,
Sure.
Peridia, Spirit, and I think Trooper. Or no, I use Marin instead of Night Trooper.
Because I know Spirit's really good, but I think like these like acolytes and stuff are usable in there, aren't they?
They're pretty usable. I do think Spirit hits extremely hard if she's at high relics. I just
Uh-huh.
don't have any of the material to really invest in her further right now. I'm really trying to focus on the Ahsoka requirements.
Yeah,
So it's going to be
that's
hard for me to
fair.
invest in anything else.
That's fair. How close are you to that? Like, are you pretty much keeping pace with the requirements as they're launched or
I'm
released?
pretty much keeping pace. I did not wail on any of the Ahsoka requirements. I did not. All I did was take the characters to 4 or 5 star with what I had in terms of
Uh-huh.
crystals. I think I got lucky with one of the pulls, so I'll take them to 4 or 5 stars and then use the event to get them up. I just got Peridia to 7 star. I think last week. My Enoch is very close to being the 7 star. I'm a
Are
couple
you
shards away.
are you gonna make it in time for their event?
So I am in a spot right now where I have to decide: am I going to invest into Padawan Sabine? Am I going to invest into the next marquee? Because I don't know if I want to spend a crazy amount of money to get her. I would
Mm-hmm.
love to make content for it, but
Yeah.
I just don't know where. Like right now, I have I think 8,000 crystals saved. That's not going to be
Yeah.
enough to get. I do think these next two marquees are going to be important because they're not going to be free to play farmable by the time she's released, I think.
Mm-hmm. So
But
how close are you to ER? Because I know you probably have the material to take him to R7, or you're not there. You don't have the signal data.
I I have the signal data to take him to 7, but then I'm completely out after that because I used all of it on
Mhm.
Balin to get him to 9.
Yeah,
I'm
because
10 shards away.
10 shards away. I don't know. Like if I were you, I would probably just take him to 7 for the at least for the assault battle. Like because it's you know like you can get Sabine up. It's not going to take you much crystals, right? You can still kind of do what you need to do for Sabine, and then
Oh no, I absolutely plan on taking him to the requirement level as soon as I get him.
yeah.
Hopefully, I have him in time for the event. I think I have to be careful with some of the Gear 12 plus pieces. I think I'm
Hmm.
running low on one of them, like the furnaces, but
Yeah.
I can get them easily in the guild event store.
Yeah, but I would like if I like you have everything, but if I had your account, that would probably be one of the bigger things I would be like probably like triple refreshing or whatever because it comes in what like 2 days or something.
Yeah, I think it's coming up, and it gives really good rewards.
Yeah, the Relic 7. I don't know if you need the rewards, but hey, signal data, um, slicing materials, all that's good stuff. Like credits are you could just use to buy more mods or something. I don't know what you do with your credits. Probably buy
Do the
mods.
I do buy mods. I look at the store every refresh I can, and that's pretty much where I get a majority of my monster crons is through the mod store.
Zetas, not an issue for you, right? Like you're
I hate to be the bearer of this, but I have 700 free Zetas.
yeah. Yeah, I that's like players who've been playing since the start of the game don't have the Zeta crunch like all of other pores. So even I know that's even accounts that are like super whales, that's probably a big issue. It's just because there's so many Zetas in the game, and there's even if you spend money, there's only so many ways to get them. So
You like those events where they drop the Zetas on the nodes for a small time?
oh yeah, yeah. So I do. That was one of the bigger reasons why I started farming new characters. Is in the past it was like at their when they become accelerated at their year, sometimes they would have like additional drops for them, and some of them were like really generous, like the Zeta ones. So I felt like okay, yeah, it's probably worth it now to be ready for that because it's not that hard to farm all the shards. So now I have pretty much farm all the shards. So
Yep. Yep.
yeah, no, I'm nowhere near as fast as you, just because I probably it again probably because I'm not because you're waiting on like new stuff and that's it, right? Like that's it. Like your progress is like new things. All this stuff on the bottom here is not even worth your time. Maybe geos. I don't even know if you would use them in TW. I think they still have uses, but
think I just never relicked up Poggle.
Poggle.
I don't know why. I have all of them at Relic 3 besides him. I was weird back then. I don't know. I didn't take B2 to relics until like earlier this year, and the whole team was relicked up. I just didn't want to do it, but I finally did it because I wanted to help my guild with the
Oh
Jordica
man,
Omicron.
no Omicron on the stop. Stop it.
Yeah,
No, I
I'd
get
like
it.
to. I'd like to, but I just need to invest into some TW ones and kind of. I want to say I don't. I kind of regret taking Stab to Relic 7, but he's somewhat helpful in the raid sometimes, but by no means essential.
Yeah, he's good if you give him the Omicron because he elevates GG. But without it, it's kind of like, eh.
Yeah, I right now my plan is with my remainder of Ezra Exile. Ezra looks amazing. I do want to apply. Hopefully, can apply all three to him.
uh
I think he's going to be an awesome character.
I'm more of like a two Omicron kind of guy. Except for Terran Malikos, I plan on doing all three because I do think all three of his are mandatory. But for the most characters, I go for like two on Darth Bane. I'll put two on Bo-Katan Mandalore. I have two on Starkiller. I try to like two is the max, just because there's like I do also want to try to not be a dirtbag for TW. You know what I mean? So I try to have like a balance of like still doing the more influential TW ones while still not harming my Grand Arena to like an incredible event. And then I don't invest in a lot of these characters. Like I don't have like Luthen and Gungans, so that does save me some Omicrons. But yeah, same thing like Jar Jar. I'd probably do like two on him or something. So I'm just like a two Omicron guy now.
But
Like,
trust me, I would love to apply more to him if I could, but it's so hard. It's such a resource that is just so needed, and obviously they're giving us more ways to get it through
mhm.
the assault battles and the Galactica Legend event at the end of Conquest. But it's still it takes a lot.
Yeah. So after GL Ahsoka, I would definitely look at like getting these three guys up and running. The Night Trooper, Captain Ewok, Death Trooper Peridia. That would be just because that the possibility of getting 10 Omicrons, it could be zero, it could be up to 10, but that's like pretty huge, right? Like there's not a lot of ways to get those. And getting an additional like half an Omicron a month could be pretty influential. I don't honestly, I don't even care about the return of investment on the R9 materials. I would do them just for the possibility of the Omicrons.
Yeah, and I don't know. This is just me with my tinfoil hat theory. I think them releasing this assault battle is just a clear giveaway of yeah, these guys might be needed for a raid one day if we're gonna make you invest Relic 9.
I do see them being, and I think that I love when you have like a double whammy, and that's why I have R9 on the Poncho Bros, is because they're raids and assault battle. So things like that with like Padawan Obi-Wan, Master Qui-Gon, I think those are like must-haves as soon as you can because you get like a huge return of investment of like they're forever gonna be good, but you also get that better raid resource which you have to invest in, especially at your level, and picking and choosing what's the best ones is probably really difficult. And of course right now like we have no idea, it could be something off the wall, it could not even be anything, so it could be a huge fu and not be Ahsoka based whatsoever. I foresee them doing just with all that content we've gotten with GL Ahsoka. I foresee the next one definitely being like mercenaries, Imperial Remnant, Spectre, Ufus, something along those lines for the next raid.
Well, absolutely. I'd be shocked if there wasn't. But um, how how are you doing with mods, by the way? Do you have a lot of fast speed sets?
I do okay. So the biggest thing that holds me back on mods was as a return player, I had to put all my crystals into fleets. So I like went Executor and then I went Leviathan, and Leviathan was incredibly expensive. having to unlock Malgus from Proving Grounds while also like doing everything for Conquest with a smaller account, so that I couldn't invest in mod refreshes until it was like pretty much a year ago. I could start investing in mod refreshes and I unlocked Java. And from that point, my mods kind of just like exploded because I have a good farming philosophy and it's statistic based on how to build like good mods. And a lot of people know me probably for that content is I just made a mod like what's a high potential mod video. So of how to build like plus 25 speed mods. So I have like decent, if not above average mods, but I've only had the resources to invest in them for a year. So there's only so much you can develop mods without like dumping tons of money into it pretty much, which I don't do. So yeah, above average, I guess, but not I would probably have no way to compete with an account that was like if you knew what you're doing because there's plenty of accounts that are like super old and have absolute crap mods, right? Like some people just don't know how to build them or they don't build new ones. They're like, yeah, I don't really like build mods. I just slice whatever I slice and I don't refresh mods and whatever events give me and they just have like really crap mods. But if you engaged in them, you understand them, then there's no way to compete with like an account that has started from pretty and also like the way that mod scores works, it's based on GP. Like my GP growth is exponentially higher than yours because you're at like a limit. You plateaued because there's just like only so much in the game. So every fast mods that you build increases your mod score a lot more than, you know, like someone whose like account is growing as they're building mods. So yeah, but other than that, like above average, I guess. Yeah.
It's good.
Like, how's your mod? I saw your GL mods are like fantastic. I didn't look at anything else, but I assume they're good. Yeah, 372 on stop. What a waste.
I know.
Yeah.
I need to figure out what I'm gonna do with that. I don't really utilize him enough, but I'm gonna have to move those mod sets somewhere else. But I do like having certain characters at high speed because it changes some counters. Like I have my Finn is
This is
used to be really effectively fast.
yeah, these are some of the fastest. Oh, 358. Yeah, that's fast. So these are some of the fastest I've seen. Your Mara Jade, of course, is not the fastest I've ever seen. I'm not Mara Jade. Ahsoka. Your Ahsoka's
Yeah,
obviously like my Ahsoka's faster than your Ahsoka, but not. It doesn't matter anymore, right? Like it's not. It's not the. It was like 2 sets ago where, or maybe it
it
was like
mattered.
3 or 4. Yeah, whereas like the faster one just deleted the other Ahsoka, so it was like a speed race. And right now with Plokron, you can keep the enemy, even if you have a slower one, you can keep her either permanently stunned or you can just let them kill your tank and he's just going to revive anyway. So it's really a non issue.
Yeah, with the new prawn with Plo, I'm able to get max banners against mirror match because of the stun cron and the tank revive. It's super helpful. It's actually really nice where you don't have to lose anybody. You can just stun I think Ahsoka, and then you stun Snips, and then their commander Tano kills your tank, revives, and then you save your one shot, take care of their cat, and
Yeah.
I was able to get full banners that way. But yeah, I try to really focus on speed and offense sets the most. I think those are the two that are really the most needed. Health is obviously very helpful, but in terms of like all characters that I want or I think it needs certain modding, I think offense mods are very helpful, and I think speed is obviously the most important stat in the game. But
Yeah. So you have 52 300 plus non GL characters.
ooh,
Just
that's a good number.
yeah, it's good. It's good. So I only have 31, I think. Um but like comparable, your top end those even my 31 to your 52 are not comparable because your ceiling is way higher. Like it's not like your I have a few that are like 360s to 340s. Like I have a good amount of them, but you're like you have a good amount that are like 370 plus and then 3 50 plus. So I do think your mods are obviously better than mine substantially, but the height of your mods are much better as well. Like your GL mods, of course you have higher relics and that really helps the stats, but all your GLs are modded really well except for your Ray.
Why you think she should have health? Oh, because she's missing a mod.
Yeah, yeah, because she's missing the
Yeah.
mod. No, I'm sure her mods are like, I'm sure it's a banger. Her stats once she has that one. I don't know what the damage is, but once she has that set, and then
I'll apply it really quick. I changed it for the raid, but
yeah,
I'll put it on there right now.
but your account's modded very well. So, I would say at the time that you played though, it would be more of a testament of like not having good mods at if you've been playing for like 8 9 years. So but I do think that your account is like very well modded.
And I can personally say I could be doing a lot better with mods. Like there are certain focuses in this game where you obviously have to like balance your focus to different
Hmm.
things.
well
I
you
do focus on mods, but I could do a lot better on doing like the daily farming for it. And
well, you're also like playing a end game and a late game account. So I just have one late game account. So it's hard, it's hard for if you're doing all the game modes, doing all the modding, all that stuff. Like that's a ton of time. That's a like you pretty much have a side job of playing this game with two accounts
yeah,
at that level.
if I didn't have to commute on a train, I don't think I'd be able to do it. But since I have so much free time on that commute, I can balance the both.
Yeah, because I drive. I cannot drive and and
No,
play.
no, yeah,
Like it'd be very dangerous. But
yeah, I don't recommend.
yeah, so and that was the biggest thing because I was like, oh, I could handle two accounts. That should be easy. And then I realized that like I was playing the game in like 5 minute bursts throughout my day. Like I wake up in the morning, I do like a little bit of conquest or like use my energy, and then I like get ready, go to work. Like at lunch, I do a little bit, and then I like get home, do a little bit before. And it's like, but when I had two accounts, I was like, you have to log out of one, log into one. And I'm like sitting there waiting and I'm like, oh crap, like I got to get to work. And that's when I realized that I was just like, I just don't have the time. I just don't have the time to commit to. And I did it for a little while just because I made a free to play farming guide. And I didn't understand how to do certain things in the early game, like how are you going to get zetas for ships now, right? Because they changed the new player, they changed the characters that they gave you. They give you certain ships, they give you certain characters. And before I was like, hey, farm geos, get those geo ships, use your galactic war currency, save it, get those up, and you're going to use some of those like with some other characters, probably like tie silencer or something, and that'll be how you can get your zetas. And then now it's like, no, you don't need those. What I did was I used a lot of the like one of the Phoenix ships, actually the Phantom, because they give you stars for that. You farm pretty much Sabine right away. And then some people like to farm Imperial Troopers, because before I was like farm Phoenix and Imperial Troopers first, and then when I played, I had to completely skip Imperial Troopers because you hit level 85 so quick. It's like just go all in, start farming for Executor. You're going to farm those ships while you farm Phoenix, and then you pretty much have what you need to just go straight for Empire with like you can just get a low star Mara Jade, Emperor Palpatine, Darth Vader, Thrawn. You're gonna have to build Piet, so you can build like a pretty much an Empire dark side team right away, and then you can just skip Imperial Troopers. So there's things I didn't understand where I was like, if I'm gonna make a guide on how to like do this efficiently, I was like, I need to at least play it. So I played that for about like 2 months, and I was like, I can't balance this anymore, and I had to stop. But yeah, it's fun. I don't know. I don't know how you would do three accounts, especially if like the free to play starts being like you have to actually do things like conquest and raids and TB and all this stuff. Like once you start getting to like actually doing events, I don't know how you could balance all three. Honestly, I don't know how you balance all two, just with your commutes, I guess, but still a lot.
It's hard. I mean, I feel like I my current content right now is very end game. Sometimes it could be very mid game with some off meta counters if anyone's struggling. Like I just made a counter for the new Leviathan buffs with profundity. So if you
Mhm.
don't have Leviathan yet, it's possible to climb. I kind of want to help a different audience because I love helping, end game, and that's the type of player I am right now. But I would love to be able to help out those newer end players because we want this game to grow. We want to attract a bigger audience, and I would love to be able to create, an account from the beginning, do a free to play guide, show them the progress of what it takes and stuff like that. Do like a weekly update kind of thing. I think I'd be helpful for newer players as well, but it's all about timing and seeing if you can make fit it into your schedule, kind of.
Okay. Well, we've been going for a long time, so I think this is a
Yeah,
pretty much a good stopping point. So thank you for joining me. I really do appreciate your time. Just one last plug for your account, or any last things you want to say before we close this off.
yeah. I just want to say thank you so much for having me. Again, it was my first content creator collaboration, so it was pretty cool to have it with you. Um, Hopefully, we can do it again in the future.
Hmm.
If you guys aren't aware, I'm Vexitron. I do a bunch of GAC videos. I do a bunch of counter off meta stuff, Datacron reviews. Have more coming down the line. But if you guys want to check me out, it's Vexitron at YouTube.
Okay. Yeah. Excellent content creator. I do watch his stuff, so I definitely check him out. I'll link your YouTube in the description as well, and on my Discord post when I push this out. So thanks for joining me, and I'll see you all next time. Take care.